All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the Orbit. Today I got Salmonberry Goods on remote call. How would you describe your company first and foremost?
How would I describe our company? Well, it's changed a lot in the last couple of weeks, so I'm still working on that. In the past, we got started as bike carts, and Connor, we know each other from being colleagues with as Convoy Coffee in Pioneer Square, so cafes, but those are since closed post carry-out orders, so we are no longer involved in any kind of direct retail. But out of Convoy was formed Salmonberry, which is once upon a time just a wholesale farm-to-table bakery and a farmer's market bakery. So buying all direct from farms, simply dominantly sourced from hyper-local independent farms in Washington and Oregon, and turning that into bakeries for farmers markets and cafes. But we lost probably 99% of our wholesale business a couple weeks ago.
99%.
Yeah, and that's a bit exaggerated, obviously, from the first week of drop off. There's some places that are still open and holding it down.
90%.
Yeah, let's say 90. I think
Okay.
A friendly 90. And so yeah.
I mean, I guess kind of to start to talk about what things have changed since as we kind of transitioned from small farm to table bakery that focus mostly on wholesale and farmers market. So now what we're kind of dealing with in this kind of new virus world that we all find ourselves kind of learning right now. And I'd say when the markets were closed and we were kind of noticing wholesale dropping off and kind of just seeing what the news and kind of what scientists were saying about kind of the duration of this thing, we were we really do need to start looking kind of elsewhere entirely to be able to really have be our new market. So we were trying to identify a problem, some of the problems that were kind of existing at us during kind of the first couple of weeks of COVID. And one was that was just this glaring problem was as we were kind of talking to farmers in the early weeks of COVID, before they had slowed farmers markets down, and then kind of as they were closing markets. I mean, farmers, especially small independent local farmers, source almost all of their produce. I mean, they supply almost all small independent restaurants, and then they do retail at farmers markets, and that's really how most farmers get by, these days, small independent farmers. And they were just all legitimate terror in their eyes, I guess as a small business person yourself, that there's kind of a bit of talk between small business owners that it's always so rough, it's definitely hard, it's intense. Of course it's really fun and it has a lot of kind of amazing qualities to it. You get to do what you love, but I feel it's a pretty common dialogue for people to be wow, no, this is so it's always so hard. But this was just a different type of fear. It's a kind of are we even going to be able to make it past this kind of thing? And that was really new. So we were just we want to do something involved with helping to support these farmers and kind of connect their goods to people who want them and need them. And so anyways, I think
in a way that's something that we've always done as Salmonberry, which is recognizing the fact that there's this inherent disconnect. There's always been a huge disconnect with the highest quality, soil tending, your neighbor down the way kind of small farms who are giving you the best produce for you, the earth, and your community, and the marketplace. And so we've been trying to do that as Salmonberry since day one by putting it into baked goods. So you could be an accident. You'd be well, it turns out, I was just getting a blueberry scone, but I just supported
regenerative
agriculture in my region. And, 3 different small, a small miller doing the best independent single origin flour, blueberry farm, so that kind of thing boiled into every item. And so it's something that has just kind of been on our minds and cooked into what we do forever.
So my question is, how is So are you delivering now? Are you just sourcing directly from these farmers and delivering straight to customers?
Yeah, I mean, so it's like a couple more steps than that, but it is fundamentally just like we are just being the link between, farmers who are, exist in like rural counties outside of King County and connecting them into like, Seattle and like Seattleites. Like just, but like while also continuing to like kind of like also do like some value added products, just kind of like, I don't know. It's been like just kind of like this. Like we through our little bakery have been like getting huge deliveries from farms. We have friends, volunteers in our bakery that like helps like assemble these like big kind of like orders, and then we drive them like all over the city twice a week. So like it's been this like amazing kind of like flow of independent food into the city, and also just like our model, like where we are doing like delivering this kind of high quality farm to table food, we're like delivering in like places that don't really have like like really nice natural food stores even to begin with, even before like COVID. So it's like I feel like we are really excited just because like we see like the glimmer of like a food movement that is like bringing like food deserts in Seattle, but bringing them like really close to like local independent farmers by literally bringing that like awesome farm fresh produce to them on like like you place an order and it's there 3 days later, like just in terms of like delivery, fulfillment, like we're pretty like pumped and proud of this. Like if we can like kind of get people food every 3 days, like we can kind of like maybe make like a really strong connection between like the independent farming movement that does need support and is pretty much just like relies on like restaurants and farmers markets, and kind of help them expand their business as maybe like a symptom of this whole like craziness.
And to answer your question, you're like, what are we? What are we doing? We are trying to be a food lifeline to the city in a way, like an independent food lifeline, right? Real food. Projects that we've been working on for a long time have been handmade pasta and focaccia, which we, put the gas on, soups and stocks, things that we've just kind of been training ourselves in and working on for years now. Essentially bundling those with independent farm produce and bringing them to your door. So in addition to all the bakes that we've been doing, a bunch of the awesome pantry items that we've had our hands on, like just like wildflower honey and flake salt, the kind of stuff that like we love and are part of, our food system just as people, but also our community, right? So having all of that kind of just be available and as practical as possible to your door as a small business owner.
Right. That's awesome. I'm curious as far as the volume, like how many customers do you currently have?
I mean, it's like it's like we've only been doing this for like 3 weeks, so it's kind of like all things like mind blown, but like we just definitely seeing like a nice like upswing of customers in terms of like how many people are going to be buying on a recurring basis. It's kind of like hard for us to tell, but we've done almost like 1,000 orders.
That's awesome.
So far. So yeah, I mean like it seems really promising. Like we're really psyched.
So one of the things,
it is really early still.
Yeah, I mean it's been such a short time, so it's kind of hard to say like what's what regular looks like. But we've just been really grassroots in it, in terms of just like word of mouth, tell your friends, this is the farmers market to you. This is I think a really important time of recognizing that time of need, right? When people are going to the grocery store, something that they kind of just like, because of its convenience and because of its like representation in society or whatever, we all just kind of overlook the fact that the $3 dozen of eggs that we're used to picking up is just part of our budget, and now those shelves are just cleaned off, and so people are saying, I don't even have eggs, like I can't do that. And so it's this opportunity to say, who does have eggs? These people who have been trying to reach you this entire time, and guess what? It's the best for you. It's the best for the planet. So addressing this like this disconnect that's always been there, I think partially as a privilege of, partially as a result of the privilege of how farmers markets access people and people them, right? It's just kind of hard to boil that into your day, rather week, every single week. And it's the most important thing to do. We like go directly support farmers. But I think what we're hoping to do is create something that is also directly supporting farmers,
Right.
but in parts of your life where it wasn't quite part of your life in a way that made sense to you, you know?
How are you getting the word out to people that this service is available?
I mean, really, it's just been like totally grassroots. Like,
Mhm.
we've just kind of been like trying to like do our best to like, kind of like, point the camera and write about like kind of like what we're doing, kind of like share that through social media. But then like so much of it has just kind of been like, friends telling friends, like, we just kind of been like, reaching out to everyone, just being like, hey, like, someone with like a big email list, someone who does newsletters, like, put us in touch. Like, we're trying to kind of like grow, like, kind of like a really like be able to see how unprecedented access to like the awesome indie farming going on just like 40 minutes away sometimes.
How many people are currently working in your operation right now?
So like I think that our overall team is about 6 people, us included.
Mm-hmm.
But just like there have just been like people who whether it's like kind of like farmers market employees who are currently like people who work at like Seattle Farmers Market Associations, like have been like offering just to like come help us pack, come like help us like by driving out to a farm who's unable to make a delivery this week, but still like help us move their produce. So like we've just just people from just like our community and friends, just like people stepping in and just been like like you need help like delivering 10 CSAs, like like give me some rubber gloves, a face mask, like I'm gonna go drop these off for you, and so it's just been like
Absolutely incredible.
It's been an unbelievable, like it's like it feels like more like kind of like a cool movement than anything else right now.
Yeah, I think that leads into one of my questions, just because it's like I was saying through text, like you are doing the Lord's work is what it feels like. Like what is some good that you've seen from this shift and like in the work that you're doing? Like how does it feel amongst the team and for the customers?
I think like the last conversation was kind of an awesome like point on that, is like the kind of the dream is alive and people seeing the importance, right?
Yeah.
And that comes from all sides. It comes from people who say, this is awesome, I want in, let me sign up. I want a Salmonberry farm box subscription because I want the best farmers market produce from my favorite farms that I love to go visit brought to my door. And I think for us on our end too, is people saying it's so important that these farms can reach people. I want these farms around. I want this food reaching people. I want this to be what's feeding people.
Well, I mean, it's just like I feel like right now, like people are just realizing it's just like how else are how would you go source yourself like a local apple right now? How I like literally like I mean, it's
Yes,
just like
you are literally the lifeline.
exactly. I mean, exactly. It's just like and like, but like apples are on the tree. People have like like crops coming out of the ground. So it's just like kind of like like in this time where it's like so important for like small business to be supported because they're in such a like kind of like vulnerable space. Like I think people are just like like I feel like our team feels like empowered by that. They feel like they see farms come into our warehouse, drop hundreds of pounds of veggies. They see us like write them a check for that. They see just like that, like they like those farmers are always been like so thankful for this right now. Just like I feel like they just like our bakers have just done like like their workload has just become like absolutely huge. That like all of us together have just been like in the like pits, just kind of like running at new products, keeping up with old ones, keeping our quality high, and then like facilitating like the CSA. They're managing volunteers now. It's like this really like it's this interesting and dynamic kind of like work environment. So like it's a small team, but like we also have like a strong community of people who help us kind of like with the food distribution aspect right now, and then just like people like helping in other ways, whether it's just kind of like spreading the word, posting on their like Instagram, or like getting like connecting us to someone who has like press connects or like a big email list, and like we've just kind of been like asking our community for that, and they've really been coming through, and it's been
Y'all are so community focused. It's refreshing. I'm curious, have you had to take any kind of like government aid or any kind of aid beyond your community like that?
I mean, government aid has been something that's like been one of like, the lack of it was something that pushed us so hard to make this happen. Was just kind of like small businesses were just kind of like, we were talking to farmers and we were just kind of like, there's like, we have to be there for each other right now and like form like a coalition, or else we're just gonna like the aid, there may be aid coming. Like we've done our part to apply for like, the aid that kind of like got passed by Congress and like, the last week. So like we're hoping that like some of that comes through and like it's able to kind of help us support and help us kind of like rebuild, like kind of like, we have a, just like the question of like, Convoy Coffee in the hub and kind of just being like, they're under, they're going to be closing their doors. Like, how do we kind of like, keep that activated? How do we keep that community like, going and strong? So we're hoping that like government support is going to like come in and like help us with that. Like we definitely had to like, burn deep into like, our small reserves to kind of keep the bakery, even like steady for like a couple weeks. We just like, but it's been a huge drain. So we're really hoping that government support will come through and be awesome, but so far we have not gotten any. So.
What would success look like for you in the next month? Like, what would be the best case scenario?
I mean, I think success like in the next month is just kind of like, staying like we want to just continue to honor all of our customers and all of these farmers, just like super like, like so we're just trying to like grow slow through like word of mouth. We want just to kind of continue to like grow our farm relationships, continue to grow just like a strong kind of like dedicated customer base in town, and just kind of like really build this like coalition of people who want to eat from local farms and farms who want to feed local people, and we want to just be like positioning ourselves and becoming better at like filling the needs of those people. And I think that's going to look like kind of continuing what we have been doing by assembling the CSA and like doing making sauces and stuff with like farmers extra greens and whatnot, like making that into like pesto for some value added things. But also like many farms don't have kind of the resources that we have in like the kind of like kitchen situation that we have in Soto. So it's just kind of like being like, well, if I can help Skagit River Ranch like make a bone broth from their extra bones, and I can supply that to like people of Seattle who want that, and give you a value added thing for something that you're currently kind of like less able to move because of just kind of like the frozen market, and also just kind of like create more value for both of us, and then also connect that to a customer. So we're trying to like kind of like listen to what kind of like farmers' needs right now, and kind of like what people are hungry for and what they need to like nourish themselves, and we're just trying to kind of like be agile and adapt and listen. So.
Yeah, I mean, to add to that, just to dovetail, organic, sustainable, maintaining high consistency. Just want to deliver as we try really hard to do always, just like really, really high quality on the like on the dot. Make sure that we're assembling everything correctly as we're putting together dozens of orders at a time with our small team. Just being like, let's just like maintain that like high consistency, high quality, organic growth. Keep doing like the just kind of like grassroots sustainable growth.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we want someone to be like get one of our boxes, someone to try one out, be like, wow, this is like the best quality stuff like I've had in months. Like this is insane. And then like they're just gonna like tell their friends, they're gonna like cook something beautiful and they're gonna like share that, whether it's like sharing a meal, dropping it off for a friend, like posting it on social media, just like any of those things. And then people are seeing that and just being like, I want to experience that too. I want that good stuff. And like so like that kind of just like that is what we're shooting for in terms of like spreading the word.
And like holistically, like success is demonstrating the immense value for all parties what local produce is, what localism, and then the quality and well-being and just like mutualism that comes from that is. And so see this as a truly a beautiful opportunity to shine a light on that. But and then on a personal side too, success also looks like creativity in the kitchen, like being able to just have the momentum, just be like, we're making soups, like let's make a board, like, you know, that kind of thing, and just be able to really like channel what the natural beauty of our region is. Say like, we're psyched, you know, we just made flour available, for instance, and it's something that's like, oh, we have the most beautiful flour we can get our hands on. The Skagit Valley is like just the absolute paradise for flour. They're doing just amazing stuff for the entire West Coast, and it's, you know, it's in our backyard. So making that more available to people, just single origin fresh milled flour in a way
grown nearby that literally you can't buy anywhere else.
Right.
Think about it.
And that's incredible because, like, I was hearing reports, Capitol Hill, they're out of flour.
Yeah, like hit us up. Yeah. Capitol Hill, hit us up.
Yeah, please do. What do you think is the biggest challenge that your company faces in the next month? Like, you know what success looks like, but what are the biggest challenges that you're currently facing?
just, yeah, sweet balance. Like, this is based off of, you know, nature. This is based off of temperature. Like, if it's cold for the next couple weeks, it's going to be slow as far as veggies coming out of the ground. So, like, want to make sure that, like, consistency, again, is sustainable growth and organic growth patterns for all, right?
I mean, we don't want to over offer and under deliver. I think, like, that's one of our big fears, just kind of being like, you know, we want to just, like, and that's where a lot of our focus is. It's just like, we want to, like, you know, tell people that we're going to bring them the best stuff the local farms have to offer, and then we want to do that. And that's just kind of like our goal. And, like, you know, there's a lot of moving parts right now. It's like a really, like, tumultuous time to be, like, a small business. Like, we're not, like, out of the woods or, like, you know, caked out or safe even, you know, like, we're definitely right in with it. So I think, like, just trying to, like, kind of keep momentum, keep kind of, like, keep relying on our community and hoping that, like, we all just keep showing up for each other, just because, like, we're, you know, just playing it one day at a time, trying to, like, keep everything in balance. And
yeah, one of the things that, like, really has stuck with me over time is hearing a story about like one of our partnering farms who was they were growing, they're a blueberry farm, super small, like, you know, woman run operation, like a young woman in our community operation, with, like, you know, a couple people. And she was telling us about, like, a large local company came in and was like, we're running a special, we want like 1,000 pounds of blueberries. And she was like, see, you know what would be really cool is like 100 pounds a week or 100 pounds every 2 weeks over the course of the year
that I could depend on.
And so, like, you know, keeping that in mind, and obviously, you know, there's like a season to availability for, you know, not everything is something that can be necessarily even available year round, right? So, but that always stuck with me as, like, you know, something that's so important to consider. It's not really on the forefront of, you know, everybody's minds as, you know, as consumers and just as people, because we want stability, right? Just like we always just, oh, we want it to be just there for me. I like it, you know, why isn't it the same? And so, like, keeping in mind the fact that, like, just like, again, nature is having its way and working with, you know, the beauty that is what's, like, at our disposal here, not at our disposal, but, like, where we live and what we have access to in terms of crops and resources, and the small farms and, you know, communities that are providing us sustenance, right? So, like, just, like, kind of keeping that balance in terms of, like, minding what the earth has to give us.
To kind of, like, bring it all together for other businesses, the small businesses in Seattle especially, do you have any, like, advice or, like, things you've learned during this time?
Well, I mean, I feel like something that, like, you know, we're all just trying to do right now that I think is just something that people should really focus on is just kind of, like, do their best to, like, listen and kind of, like, take in what's happening, kind of, like, what the markets are like, what, like, you know, who needs things right now, and try and just, like, listen and adapt with just kind of, like, as cool head as possible. Like, it is scary times, but, like, I think that, like, you know, the more time you can spend, like, thinking critically and trying to, like, you know, listen to kind of, like, what's going on around you, and then, like, you know, acting in kind of like a, like, just kind of, like, reasonable way, like, that's just kind of, like, gonna, like, you know, if you can kind of, like, stay positive and think about, like, you know, how you can kind of alleviate some problems. You know, I think like that's the best advice. You know, just take it one day at a time. You know, you'd be impressed what kind of problems you can solve. You know,
definitely like a you know, be the change kind of situation. We all have so much power as, you know, as individuals for just keeping a really honest, discriminating mind towards public health, you know, and your neighbors, right? Saying like, what's the right thing for me to do right now? You know, how do I be really smart and really safe? How do I behave in a way that's like going to be right for my community and myself, you know, everyone around me in the long run?
Because that's what's important.
And you know, and that includes up here, right? For, you know, staying, you know, putting your thoughts towards something, you know, just sublimation, something like healthy and productive, right?
Awesome. That's great. I would love to debrief you after the interview, but I'm going to stop hitting record. Thanks so much. This is Salmonberry Goods. You can check them out at, let me check the URL, salmonberrygoods.com if you want to order within Seattle. Thanks so much for what you do, and we'll talk in just a moment.